Also joining us, we have Cooper Anderson, Greenhaven Chief Financial Officer. Right off the bat, I would like to begin with the NYMEX, and we see exactly, Jeff, that commodities matter in this story, but overall, what did the traders do in reaction to news of the Greek deal?
There wasn't much of a move here. The real excitement today probably was the heating oil today. Finally, the weather kicked in, and we had a big move in spot heating oil to numbers that people weren't expecting today. I don't think this news has hit us and really has any bearing. But again, if it's positive for the equity markets, it'll be positive for us down the road. I'm not worried about that. But again, we didn't really have much of an effect. I can't really say that. In fact, crude oil, which expired today, the spot month, showed nothing really at the very end of the day. In fact, closed about $1 lower. So that really was a non-event as far as that's concerned.
But there's no non-event at all right now with the markets. This is a huge event. I want to go to Rob Hackle at the New York Stock Exchange. Traders' reaction, and again, it started as a rumor here. Do you feel that this is a solid deal? We're still waiting on the announcement.
Well, hey, Liz, thanks for having me on. Of course it. I mean, I think right now what you're seeing is the market is just reacting to the positive news. There's been a lot of talk about having this happen. It's finally getting it towards the end where you're going to hear that you're going to get a deal. There's no way that Greece was going to be exiting the euro. A lot of talk before from the Greeks that they were going to look for a way out and they didn't want to pay the debt. You just can't do that. Now that you have an opportunity that they're coming out and saying we're going to find a way to make a deal, even though it is short term for 4 months, it's a very big positive. Markets are reacting overwhelmingly positive.
Look at this, Rob. We've got an all-time record thanks to at least this man and his ability. He, of course, is the new Prime Minister of Greece, Alex Tsipras, and he's the one who must be backing down on his demand that the austerity plans must be eliminated. The Germans were saying, forget it, you've got to adhere to austerity, and the Greeks hated it. A lot of people unemployed. I understand that, but Rob, somebody must have let go of demands here. It looks like the Greeks.
Absolutely. They really didn't have much of a choice. The one thing that they were doing is just coming out and saying that, when they got elected a couple of weeks ago, they were going to push and say they weren't going to allow it to happen. They were going to not going to give in to the Europeans, and they caved.
This is amazing, Trent, because the European markets closed before this deal, so we had somewhat of a mixed picture. Nothing great. France, CAC 40 down about 2 points. The FTSE was up 26. No big deal. But the DAX up 48. That's a decent 0.5% gain. But forget that. Let's look at our markets. What are the pits at the CME, because it's Friday, going to do on Monday? Do we see these record highs continue? We have a record in the Dow, a record in the S&P right now.
I normally would say that I think we would get a little continuation here, Liz. The only issue is I think now that this is going to be put on the back burner, I mean, I haven't seen the details. I'm not even sure they're out yet, Liz, but it looks to be 4 months from what I understand. If it's just a kick-the-can type deal, I think the markets will really focus right away onto Yellen's Congressional Senate meeting next week. So I don't know if we'll have a little trepidation as far as traders not wanting to establish too long or too short with such a big event on the calendar. But I think what you said as far as the Greeks backing down, Liz, the exposure that Europe had to Greece was so much more limited now than what it was a few years ago. I think you hit it on the head. The ECB and Germany had all the leverage here. And I think we haven't seen the details of the deal, but I think you're right on. I bet Greece had to back down off of their original stance.
It speaks to the importance of Greece as a strategic nation. Yes, it's tiny. Yes, it's a financial mess. But guess what? The Eurozone does not want to lose Greece right now because it is crucial in keeping this Eurozone together, which I guess the perception is if it fell apart, it would be disastrous. Let me just tell you, because Trent was saying you weren't even sure if there was a deal. This is coming out of Reuters, so we definitely want to say that there is a Eurogroup minister who is saying that the meeting in Greece was a first step to rebuilding trust with Greece and that the decision is to extend the Greek bailout for 4 months. That is a blink of an eye, Cooper Anderson, and you know because you have just opened an ETF today that is all coal futures, which is interesting because a lot of people think coal might be dead, but Europe uses coal. How important is the health of Europe as a collective group?
It's important. I mean, Europe's definitely a huge coal user. Coal, although it's had a hard time in the last, 5 or 6 years, it's not going away. It still produces a third of the world's electricity generation. So, I think the news today in Greece, just to kind of tie that in, from a commodity standpoint, probably is really going to be come down to what the currencies do. We've had a huge run in the dollar. The question I would have is, does this mark kind of the pivotal turning point and the dollar strengthen the other direction as the euro kind of takes over.
You know, let me ask you about the timing of your ETF, which launches today under the ticker symbol TONS, T-O-N-S. This is something, and we just showed Rotterdam coal futures. Yours isn't just a basket of coal names. It is the futures that trade against a basket of coal names. And the timing of this on a day where the markets are skyrocketing, is this good or bad? It's unchanged right now, $40.57. What will drive your ETF?
Well, we think it's good. I mean, you know, coal has kind of had the perfect storm hit it over the last few years with EPA regulations in the U.S., very low natural gas prices, and then, you know, kind of waning economies in Europe and China. To the extent the news today kind of bolsters things in Europe a little bit, I think it's a positive. And, you know, we oftentimes lose perspective in the U.S. We have very cheap natural gas here, but over in, say, Europe, things are, you know, 3 or 4 times more expensive.
I mean, that's an excellent point, Jeff Grossman, that he makes, that you literally, their feet are held to ice, not even the fire, because of Russia's threats. Russia is now, at the moment, somewhat of a non-entity, but keeping with this news today, Jeff, tell me, what do you think happens on Monday with the energy complex as it pertains to Europe's demands?
I think this market is still working its way higher. I think we've found our footing. It's been a rocky road and the like, but I think all these things are still pointing to the upside here. I really do. This to me looks like a little bit of a unification.
All right,
it looks like the dollar will probably weaken, I think, and we're probably going to work our way higher in general.
Okay, so maybe that's the trade from the NYMEX. Rob, what's the trade for Monday that you would make right now going into the close?
Well, I think you're talking about it with the Greece. If it's going to be a move, if you're going to get the port situation taken care of, you're going to be looking higher on Monday. Dow up over 1,000 points this month, 109 points on the S&P. You know, this market is looking higher, especially going into the last week of trading for February.
This is unbelievable. I'm looking at the National Bank of Greece, NBG. It is jumping 15%. But keep in mind, this is now a $1.86 stock. NBG, the annual high was $5 and change. Wilbur Ross, the billionaire, he has made a lot of bets. He's probably wiping his brow right now that there's at least a 4-month extension that buys some time here. But the Greek banks are skyrocketing right now. They are traded here in the U.S. Great to see you all, gentlemen. And Cooper Anderson, good luck with your brand new ETF, TONS.
Thank you.
Focused on coal. Check it out. Closing bell, we are 50 minutes away, and we are